G'day trendsetters, this is the 2017 Orbea Terra, the Spanish gravel bike. Translated from Latin, Terra means earth, and here on planet Earth is where I've been riding and racing the Orbea Terra gravel bike for some time. Now this bicycle is designed for 700c wheels. This is the original wheel set that comes with the bicycle. It is the Mavic All Pro Disc Road wheel set. But as you can see right now, the Terra is currently fit with a pair of American Classic Wide Lightning 650B wheels. But before I go into those details, I'm going to cover all the features of the bike. The Orbea Terra hails from the Basque region of Spain. If this label is to be believed, the frame is built at the company's headquarters in Malabia, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, from the company's OMP carbon fibre. The Terra is based around Orbea's all-road geometry. Now this translates to a longer wheelbase and chainstays, a lower bottom bracket, and a higher stack and shorter reach up front. Orbea has utilised a special carbon layup at the head tube joint to help absorb vibrations. The Terra frame uses a split design with the head tube, down tube and chain stays built for lateral stiffness. The head tube is tapered from 1 1/8 inch to 1.5 inches and the down tube is widened on its path towards the bottom bracket whilst the chain stays are set as wide apart as possible. The top tube is thin and flattened towards the rear and the seat tube follows this form, accepting a 27.2mm seat post. The smaller diameter seat post is intended to help with overall comfort. The frame's two-part design extends to the fork and the lower legs are constructed to allow for some vertical give while the fork's crown has been beefed up to minimise lateral flex. The fork utilises the flat mount standard for brake mounting and will accept up to a 180mm rotor, although 160mm rotors are spec'd on most of Orbea's builds. The rear brake mounts in the same manner and will accept up to a 160mm rotor. Shifter cable and hydraulic brake housings are routed internally and the frame supports mechanical or wired electronic drivetrains and SRAM's wireless ETAP system. The front derailleur hanger can be removed if you choose a 1x drivetrain system, and there is an integrated frame protector located above the bottom bracket. The bottom bracket is the Pier 30 standard, whilst the front through axle is 100mm by 12mm and the rear through axle is 142mm by 12mm. There are also mounting points on the frame and fork for fenders. The top tier Terra, the M20i-D, is fitted with Shimano's superb Ultegra Di2 electronic drivetrain with cockpit parts such as the stem, seat post and handlebars supplied by FSA. Orbea were very wise in choosing the excellent FSA SL-K modular carbon adventure crankset with 46/30 chainrings. This is an extremely flexible setup. I'll be reviewing this crankset separately on the gravelcyclist.com website in the near future. Finally, there is provision for 2 bowl cages, and your wheel spec on this model may depend upon your local market. I rode several wheel set and tyre combinations during my time with the Orbea Terra. Wheel sets used include the Mavic Cerium Pro all-road disc, the Hunt 30 Carbon gravel disc, the American Classic Wide Lightning in 650B, and the American Classic Race 29er. Tyres used during the review include the Panaracer Gravel King SK in 700C by 35mm and 38mm, the Schwalbe G1 in 700C by 40mm, and the WTB Resolute in 700C by 42mm and 650B by 42mm. Orbea specified the Terra as having a maximum tyre clearance of 700C by 40mm. I found that to be accurate with tyres such as the Schwalbe G1 and WTB Resolute in 700C by 42mm. However, tyre clearance could be better. Mud is a huge factor during inclement weather, so a rider would be wise to fit a narrower tyre to the Terra if mud and rain are expected. Now, the bike is not designed for the 650B wheel size, but I was very impressed with the Terra's ability to comfortably fit the WTB Resolute 650B by 42mm tyre. This particular tyre is superb and really transforms the Terra, but more on that later. One of the biggest tests of a bike's capabilities is how well it handles in a race. Unlike a pleasant solo gravel ride or with friends, you cannot always pick and choose your perfect line in a gravel race. The same can be said about the weather. The Dirty Kanza 200, a tough gravel race that has seen its fair share of good and bad conditions, was run under near perfect conditions in 2017. The Orbea Terra was my race bike for the 2017 Dirty Kanza and a machine I rode extensively during my training rides for the race. 200 miles, or 207 miles in the case of the 2017 edition, is a test of rider and machine, especially when you consider that over 95% of the road surfaces are dirt and gravel, and in some places, rocky sections that require careful finessing of the bike. There are also stream crossings and endless hills. Kansas is not exactly flat. Despite all of this, the Orbea Terra lapped it up, safely carrying me to the finish line some 2 hours faster than in 2016. I attribute much of my performance to the excellent weather and solid training, but the Orbea Terra was absolutely perfect all day. The special carbon layout that Orbea applies to important areas of the frame, such as the head tube, chainstays and fork, all designed to absorb vibrations, was really appreciated. Overall, the ride was extremely comfortable and forgiving, but at the same time offering excellent performance characteristics. The frame and fork track superbly, even in tricky and loose conditions, and the bottom bracket area of the bike is rock solid without a trace of flex. The fork looks a little diminutive compared to other gravel bikes in the market, but it is one of my favorite aspects of the Terra. It is a top performer. 650B wheels on the Terra are an absolute blast to ride. I think of them as the fun wheel size. I love riding the Terra on not so technical single track and find the smaller size wheels make the bike feel nimble, especially in tight situations. In fact, I've been riding 650B on the Terra almost exclusively since the 2017 Dirty Kanza. The Terra responds instantly if you stomp on the pedals hard out of the saddle or stay seated in the saddle. Between the bike's rock solid bottom bracket and rear through axle, I cannot detect any measurable flex nor hear the telltale signs of chain or disc brake rotor rub. I didn't have an opportunity to test the Terra on some genuine mountain descents, but it performed well on the short descents at Dirty Kanza, as well as everything else I threw at it later on. The bike handles well on the drops, especially if you need to place your body weight behind the saddle when the descents get a little steep and you need the bike to float through the rough stuff. I mentioned the virtues of the fork earlier, and the same applies here. It tracks well and is very forgiving with big and small hits. Never did I feel the need for suspension and the associated weight and complications that come with that. If you're looking for a bike to do it all, road, gravel, and whatever else you could throw at it, the Terra is very worthy of your consideration. This sample weighed about 18.5 to 19 pounds, dependent on the wheels and tyres installed at the time. The Terra loves being ridden fast and would definitely suit a rider looking for a performance edge on dirt and gravel roads. The parts spec is excellent for the price, but I would like to see a little more tyre clearance on the frame itself. The Orbea Terra is available in 5 sizes, 7 different models, and every bike can be customized courtesy of the My Orbea program. Pricing is dependent upon the options chosen. I hope you found this review to be helpful and insightful. And of course, visit gravelcyclist.com for some of the best gravel cycling content, including our awesome event calendar and Q&A sessions.